Today, we're going to be looking at my favorite positional puzzle or game of all time. Positional chess, like many, was my biggest weakness in chess. Maybe it still is, but I read Jacob Agard's positional playbook, and that helped me immensely. It just made me think a different way. And that is where I got this game or found this game. So as you could see, we have Vladimir Kramnik, a former world champion, versus Magnus, I guess also a former world champion. This game was played in Germany in 2007. So we have a 17-year-old Magnus. That's why you see he's rated at 2693, and Kramnik is higher rated than him. Just before we get into it, I would like to say I hope Magnus comes back, plays in the candidates, and then wins the match again. I mean, that would be just another accolade for him, I guess, but it would be an amazing story. But this is a positional masterpiece by Kramnik to defeat Magnus. So, what is going on? Well, Magnus just played the move knight to d5, and this was deemed a mistake, but it's not clear why. So, we have 1, 2, 3 attackers on b4, though as of now the bishop is pinned. And what do we do? So, first things first, why not b takes a5? Well, you see, this move would not be good because of the move c5. Black gets very active and blows up the position immediately. That's where the bishop pair will shine. Not to mention he'll win this pawn back. So this would be very, very good for black. What else? Well, if you revert to passive defense, which is a big thing, do not revert to passive defense, always active offense or activity, unless you absolutely need to. That was a big change that I understood after reading this book. So queen b2, what's the problem with it? Well, black will take. He needs to go bishop a8 to unpin his bishop. And then white would need to retreat to d3 to make sure he doesn't lose this pawn. And as you could see, black gained two very nice squares for his knight. And the battle would go on. The battle would continue. The game is in the balance. However, in this position, the game is not in the balance. Try to pause. Try to find it. We're going to review it right now, and we're going to go to the end of the game. The move is knight to b3. This is a beautiful move. The reason this is a beautiful move is that you are threatening knight takes a5, and so black has to take. It forces black to go a takes b4. Now you don't take back, obviously, because you would lose the pawn. You go knight to a5, and here you gain a tempo on the dark squared bishop that is on b7. Black cannot go something like rook to b8 because then you would get forked and white would go up in exchange. So what to do? Bishop a8, saving the bishop. And now you plant a knight on c6. Either or does not matter, but he opts to go knight a c6. That is a fork, and this is a bad bishop. This is a great knight. So it makes sense that Magnus took the knight, and white takes back. Again, reintroducing the fork, also hitting b4, which is critical. Magnus gets out of the fork, and now what do we do? So in this position, bishop takes knight is the move, but we need to understand why. So you do not want to take the bishop because then black's position essentially just wakes up. The queen guards b4. He is fine. He's not going to be down anything. So what taking the knight does is you must realize that the queen cannot take the bishop because then knight takes e7 wins a queen. Of course, he would not fall for that. So he takes back with the pawn. But you see, now the knight guards b4. You do not take with the knight, though, because this is a good knight versus bad bishop position. So you take with the pawn. Now, this bishop has absolutely no range of motion for the rest of the game because all of our pawns are on dark squares. Nothing can kick this knight out. It's outposted. And if this knight can't get kicked out, the c-pawn can't get rolling. And if the c-pawn can't get rolling, all of black's pawns are useless. So what does Kramnik do? Well, he aims at or builds pressure onto the weakest square, that is the pawn on b5. The knight even covers b8. I mean, this guy's a monster. So essentially, white is going to go up a pawn, but can he improve at all? He improves his knight to e5. This forces the queen away from the pawn. That's a nice centralized knight. And now he picks up a pawn. We get rook to b8, desperately trying to trade. We get the trade, and Kramnik temporarily goes up 2 pawns. So yes, he could take this guy back, but then we get rook a1, and he's going to have back rank problems. So what does he do? He plays for activity. Bishop to d6, booting out the queen and aiming at the knight. Still looks tense. Okay, we get queen to a5, and now he takes the pawn with the bishop. Can you figure out why this is a mistake? Well, rook to b1. This bishop is now pinned. You cannot take because that is checkmate. So what do? what do you do? Oh, you also cannot go bishop to d6. Do you see why? Rook takes, bishop takes, back rank problems. Unfortunate. So, what to do? Well, he goes queen d6, and everything is guarded at the moment. But after Kramnik's next move, Magnus decided to resign. And that move was queen to a4. So you have two attackers on the bishop. The bishop can't move anywhere. And if you see something like, what's the threat? Let's say they go h6, so there's no back rank problems. Then the move is knight to c6. The queen guards the knight, so the queen can't take the knight. You're forking everything, and you're going to win a piece. So a beautiful game. Oh, and if bishop to c3, we would get a trade. White does not have any back rank problems. So queen to d7, he's winning the whole house, and with it the game. Again, these pawns, if the bishop cannot threaten the base of the pawn chain, which it cannot, then you want it on the same color as the bishop. If it can threaten the base of the pawn chain, then you want it the opposite color so that it sees the whole board, but it hits air everywhere. So, comment down below what you think. This was a short video, but I just wanted to show my favorite positional puzzle of all time. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.